Okay, so welcome to another Swimscape podcast. In this podcast, we're talking to Scott Rice. Welcome, Scott.
Yeah, great to be with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Scott, we always kind of start off just by asking people to give us a bit of their swim story, what got you into swimming, what keeps you swimming, and and then we'll take the conversation from there. So tell us a little bit about your swimming.
Well, it started, I guess, at the Takapuna pools in the Learn to Swim pool with Gene Haring. When was that? Back in the early 80s. And that's when Gene and Lincoln Haring were the coaches and teachers at the Takapuna pools and North Shore Swimming Club. But really, my swimming's been in my family. My dad was a very good swimmer, sort of up to national level, and a top surf lifesaver. And my mother's sister was an Olympian swimmer from Great Britain, and her husband was an Olympian as well. So my auntie and uncle were Olympians, and I guess, it came from my father and the fact that it was in the family, and mum and dad knew that it was important for us to learn to swim. So just like a lot of people, we got into it to survive, and then enjoyed it as a sport and carried on from there into club swimming, national swimming, briefly international swimming, and then into a career of swimming. So yeah, it's been a long time.
That's impressive. Yeah. I think most people who are involved in some sort of outdoor swimming in New Zealand are probably aware of you, or at least the events that you've organised in the past and currently. So first time I met you, I think I was helping out with a beach series event that you were running, and I'd already done some of the King of the Bays. That was my first ever real swim challenge. Definitely remember I had to beat Rosie the dog. Otherwise, I was a failure.
A lot of you weren't the only one, Jim. Yeah.
So maybe you could just tell us about some of the swim events that you've organised, and what kind of got you into that as well.
Yeah. I think it was the kind of the late 90s. I was coming to the end of my swimming career in about 99. I always enjoyed organising things, and I was always thought I was reasonably good at it, whether it be organising parties so I did a few sort of parties for mates and did a reasonably good job of that. And then, I went on an overseas trip actually in 2003, kind of see the world. And while I was over there, I remember people asking me, what do you do? And up until that point, I'd been a sales rep for Wrigley's chewing gum, and that was my first real job. I had started and sold a cafe at the Glenfield Leisure Centre, but I started telling people that I was in events, and I run a swimming event, and that's when I was starting to think about King of the Bays, 2003. And so I got back from that OE, I got a job, and I immediately started working on this concept of a Milford Takapuna beach. And that Milford to Takapuna was special because I'd lived in Milford when I grew up. And Takapuna was another beach that had been a lot of memories for me. So I also had very good contacts with elite swimmers because I'd just finished. And so I asked all of my elite swimmer mates to come and swim that. We put some big prizes on the line and got that one away in 2004. So that's where kind of King of the Bays came around. And when I started, it was pretty much I was just doing things as I thought they needed to be done. I went out and sold sponsorship in the way that I thought it needed to be sold. I hadn't really read it in a book or anything like that. I promoted it in the way, again, I thought I knew I needed to get in front of the right people. So at the time, triathletes were the kind of predominant market of people. So I wanted to, because ocean swimming and open water swimming was not very big back then. And so, I marketed hard. I did all that myself. I used to go and fly drop windows at triathlons and do all the hard yards. I remember speaking at prize givings at the Tauranga Half and sort of standing up in front of it and asking the organiser if I could stand up and tell people about it. And so they were the good old years where you had to work really hard on something quite new. So that was the King of the Bays. The following year, the what used to be called the Nutrigrain Sports Ski Series, Surf Ski Series, was coming to an end, and the organiser had enough of running it, and so he said, "Do you want to run it?" And it had a sponsor, and I said, "Well, I'm not really that into surf ski, but if we added a run and a swim to it, I'd be interested, and we'll call it the Beach Series." And so the Beach Series was born out of the back of a surf ski series, and so that's when that started. I do remember the first night. The first season of the Beach Series was 20 weeks. And I remember doing the first one and how hard it was to run that first very complex event of running 3 different events simultaneously. And I went home and I literally cried. I just got on my bed and went, what the have I done? What have I done? I've got 19 of these to go. And I honestly was throwing it in after that first one. It was just, trying to get all the systems working. And but in the end, history, we did 10 years of it, and we did reduce it down to 16, 18, 16. And it ended up being, an amazing event and lots of great memories from the Beach Series of friendships and just seeing families grow up. I'd seen families that had toddlers up to teenagers through that time, and enjoying a beer on the deck at the Takapuna Boat Club, and all of those fun memories. So yeah, that was the Beach Series. The single ocean swim at King of the Bays turned into, later that year, was the Harbour Crossing, another massive undertaking to get people swimming straight across the Auckland Harbour. And there was all sorts of hurdles we had to jump through to get that done, and lots of learnings. And in fact, the first ever harbour crossing, we got everyone to meet on the city side. I don't know if you did this one, Jim. You might have.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. We all met on the city side at the Sport Expo, and then we were going to ferry you across to the start, and then you were going to swim back. And I got a call an hour before the ferry was meant to arrive saying, "Oh no, the skipper's sick. We can't send the ferries." And I was just like, again, a what the fuck moment. And I've got 400 or 500 of you standing there, and I've got no boat. And so I literally screamed at the person at the other end saying, "This, you cannot do this, get someone in that boat and get them over here." And again, my wife Tash was helping me, and again, that was one of those moments where it almost the stress and the pressure of that event was huge. And I remember kind of at one point nearly wanting to curl up in the corner. But we got you there. We got it done. Brent Foster swam under the bloody wharf.
Yes.
Remember that one? Yeah.
Remember that.
So, yeah, good old Brent. So we changed the rules after that because of Brent Foster. He thought it was okay to swim straight underneath the wharf. And so that was a bit controversial to kick it off. But yeah, and then so the King of the Bays and the Harbour Crossing, then, we had a few sponsors in those events, but then Sovereign came along and they sponsored the King of the Bays in 2005, the next year. And then they wanted something national, so did we. And so that's when the New Zealand Ocean Swim Series was born, basically off the motivation from us and the sponsor to have something national. And so we added Tauranga, Wellington and Christchurch to the mix and started with 5 swims, and that was the New Zealand Ocean Swim Series 2006. And then, so that was the start. That was the start of the Beach Series, which I ran for 10 years, and the New Zealand Ocean Swim Series ran for 15. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got very fond memories of those events. I must admit, I'm not the kind of person who really enjoys having a ton of people around me in the water, but I really enjoyed the social aspects afterwards. But even before, you just ended up meeting swimmers that you hadn't met maybe since the last event, or they just even if they're in Auckland, they just swim at a different beach to you on a regular basis. So I thoroughly enjoyed the camaraderie. And as you said, having a beer on the deck at the boat club after a beach series was particularly pleasant. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Dust off the cobwebs on Saturday the 28th of November with our annual 1201 mile charity swim event at Waiheke Beach Torbay. This year we will be partnering up with the unbelievable team at Kenzie's Gift, which supports the mental health of tamariki navigating the death of a parent or sibling, or serious illness in their whānau. We will swim 1 mile on the hour every hour from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m, covering 19.2 kilometres in total. Come and swim one or as many as you want for a great cause. Entries will open from August on swimscape.co.nz.
Scott, what did the safety look like back in the day?
It was pretty good, to be honest, but, look, there was no guideline. There was no standard.
You would be the first to do this, yeah.
Yeah. We had to develop our own safety plans. They didn't exist. I mean, the Auckland Central Masters were running swims, but we weren't going to use them as a benchmark. They used Coast Guard on one boat, and they used just volunteers on kayaks. We didn't think that was good enough. So we, right from the get-go, we used Surf Lifesaver New Zealand, and we used local clubs. In fact, the first club we had many, many years was Mairangi Bay Surf Club, and we dealt directly with Mairangi Bay. We developed, with Andy Kent, who's now head of lifesaving and Surf Lifesaving New Zealand. So I've known Andy for a long time. We would develop safety plans, but I wrote them. Had lawyers sort of look over them, and the waivers and things. But we had trained lifeguards on the water, on boards and IRBs. But for the harbour crossing, for example, I mean, that was huge. We had the harbour master on the water, often the police. We would have a back boat, the Dolphin Explorer back boat, which would follow the swimmers and collect any ones that were too slow. But we had this very, very complex safety plan, and in those early years, it's no secret. We had people that died, and that wasn't through any lack of safety on the water. It was just wrong place, wrong time, which we had to then respond to. Medical events that happened during the event that tested the safety system. But I guess at the end of the day, they were awful events for the families, for us, but they kept us on our toes as far as it could happen in any event. And so we needed to, it wasn't over till everyone was over that line and safe, and that takes its toll also on an organiser in terms of the weight on your shoulders. The situations I've been in, sitting in police cars with widows of following an ambulance to the hospital, they're not something you want to do. But yeah, that's what you take on as an event organiser. You take on the responsibility of getting everyone to the other side or to the end of the swim safely. But yeah, over the years, people, the narrative changed, and it's your own personal responsibility to be in condition to swim that event. And for a while there, we got beaten up by the media, but then the media kind of changed a bit. And with thanks to Murray Deaker, actually, who used to be on radio and a big supporter of ours, and he kind of flipped the script on it.
Yeah, that must have been super, super hard. I've actually got a little bit of a part of it. My daughter was part of one of those events on one of the harbour crossings. So it sort of hit our family as well. Got a lot of really good support from Surf Lifesaving, Andy Kent in particular, and she said, "I'm never doing that again." And now she's a paramedic, so clearly it didn't put her off.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and there was lots of young lifeguards there. At 15, 16, that had to deal with stuff that, and even me back at that time, I was 26 years old on that first harbour crossing, and I don't think it was the first one; it was the second one, I think, where we had our first death. But yeah, it's when we had the numbers, we were getting big numbers. I mean, we were well over 1,000. So out of that, you've got, we all know swimming is something you can do until you're older. But not everyone in that field has done the preparation that they should have done. There's not everyone in that field that has looked after their health. And there's some ticking time bombs in that field, and you just don't know when you're going to find them,
Join Swimscape in collaboration with Mairangi Bay Surf Lifesaving Club for the Winter Swim Series. You can do a 500-metre swim for $10 or a 2,000-metre swim for $25. Come and experience the cold in a safe and controlled environment, and share some laughs and shivers after within the clubhouse for some coffee. Enter at swimscape.co.nz.
Yeah. So Jim and I debate quite often, right? So just from a marathon swimming perspective, the rules are today what they were in 1980, for example. If you jump in at the English Channel, it's a pair of togs, it's a pair of goggles and a safety boat, and off you go. And I don't know if that should potentially have been upgraded a little bit over time. The rules for racing a Ferrari around a Formula One track in 1980 versus what they are now are significantly different. And I look at events like the Midmar Mile in South Africa, for example, which is a really big, I think it's the biggest open water swim race in the world. Yeah. And what they've done, for example, over the last couple of years is they've made safety tow floats compulsory for that event. So you've got waves of 500 swimmers and there's 500 tow floats. What's your view on that? I mean, I would love to see something like that happen in New Zealand, specifically from the marathon swimming scenario where you've got one swimmer, one little boat, and you're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Well, in my experience, the first thing I think about with tow floats is, depending on how far they are floating behind the swimmer, they're a pain in the ass for the swimmer behind them, potentially. But at all my time, no one died from needing a flotation device.
So I think maybe if I can interject for a second, it's I think you're spot on. Nobody's died from drowning per se and holding onto a device, but specifically in the channel, there's been some scenarios where the guys have had a heart attack or some event and they've lost the body. The body's gone.
Right.
So that flotation device, I think, in my mind, enables the safety crew to visually see what they're working with and get that person at least up the water and onto a boat. Yeah, but I mean, I get your point about things getting in the way.
That's a whole different. Yeah, that is. I could see why, if that was the reason, then a tow float would certainly be useful, for sure. But yeah, so is the question more, safety has advanced, or has the requirement has increased over the years? I mean, that's, of course it is. But there, for a while there, my view was that in New Zealand, there really has only been one true organisation that can, can not dictate but guide the resources required for an open water swim, and that has been Surf Lifesaving New Zealand. Otherwise, you're running a safety plan outside of Surf Lifesaving New Zealand, which I won't go into too much, but is in most cases the use of private motorcraft or anything for for a swim can be quite a difficult thing to achieve legally. But so when I started out, we kind of decided how much resource we needed, and then it became a little bit difficult where Surf Lifesaving were telling me how much I needed at my cost, and there became a little bit of a I guess a challenge and a struggle between me and them to decide where that line should be. That we have moved past that now, but after the deaths, you could understand that there was a real nervousness for Surf Lifesaving around safety. And so what's the easiest thing to do? Throw the kitchen sink in it. Yeah. So, and you need more. And at some point it becomes unsustainable. And you have to sort of stand back and go, what is common sense here? What is too much resource versus what's an appropriate amount of resource? So, we've had some interesting discussions over the years, but we're all still talking. So that's good. Yeah.
So now you kind of stepped up even more, and some of your events are outside of New Zealand. You're running swims in Fiji. How is that different to running swims in New Zealand? There's got to be a lot of differences in the organising of that.
Yeah, and there's a steep learning curve.
Before you carry on, those Fiji Swim series are legendary, and you've done an amazing job. I mean, I open up my phone and it's like, we've sold out. The next one's open. There's a limited time. So they are extremely popular amongst the ocean swimming fraternity. So hats off. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, it sort of was born out of the fact in 2018 or 2017, I was still running the swim series here. And I just thought, we've got this massive database of swimmers that kind of hang up the togs in April and don't get them out again until October, November. So why don't we do the swim over there? And so that's where it started. I knew nothing about Fiji or running events or suppliers. I had no one in Fiji I really knew. So the first lady I met worked at the Sheraton. Her name was Larissa, and she has been the person that has helped right from the get-go, and I still work with her today in a different company. But how's it different? You just can't compare, really, other than swimming and you get into the water and you turn your arms over and you have a start and finish. Apart from that, everything else is quite different. It's a travel event. We were not selling an entry fee to an event where, Jim, you turn up on Milford Beach and swim from A to B and see you later, Jim. You are buying a full package of airfares, accommodation, an itinerary of functions, food and beverage, swims in exclusive, beautiful locations. We look after you from when you arrive to when you leave, So lots of different suppliers, lots of different ways they work over there in Fiji, the Fijian way, the Fiji time. We've found it in most of our bigger suppliers are run by international people, Frenchmen, Kiwis, Aussies. The way we do business is quite similar. So you don't underestimate, Kiwis. Most Kiwis keep their word. We've done a deal. This is the deal. Let's put in an agreement. Both parties work hard to deliver their obligations. I've found quite a few companies in Fiji that's not quite the case. They will forget what you've told them, forget what you've agreed, and 2 weeks before, they don't turn up. They want to change the price. That's really been quite frustrating over the years, but I've learned who not to work with, who to work with, because people that come to Fiji, they all think, Fiji time, it's all good until it's them. They're not interested in Fiji time. They want to know Aussies and Kiwis, they want to, if you've told them this is what's happening, this is what they expect is going to happen. So we have to make sure that our schedule and our itinerary runs pretty much to time. And we've got good suppliers. But yeah, it's been a huge success. We absolutely love running it. It's a joy to be there. And and this year's been our biggest year with four events in Fiji. And so it's not a bad place to hang out when it's cold here in New Zealand. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a tough one, honey. Sorry, I have to go to work in Fiji for a month. I'll see you in September. Yeah. It wouldn't go down that well in my house.
Yeah.
So how did you come from all of that swimming background and amazing swimming events to people doing dive bombs of wharfs all around New Zealand?
Well, I've always been interested in kind of funny, quirky events. Like we ran a night run in the Domain in 2015. That was when all the colour runs were going off, and so I guess where the Manu World Champs came from was I'd sold the New Zealand Ocean Swim Series in 2021. I actually, at that point in time, Fiji was still cranking along at one event per year. In fact, no, we had no Fiji swims between 220 and 222 because of COVID. So I was kind of in this first point of my career where I didn't really have anything to do. And so I did my real estate papers over COVID and part of COVID. I was going to go and be a commercial real estate agent. So I finished those papers right at the end. I thought, no, I don't want to do that. And so I did all that. It was a waste of time. And then, gave me something to do. And then I went and worked at MediaWorks as on a contract within their team around sort of their events and commercial. And after working for myself for my whole career, pretty much, I couldn't deal with that. So I lasted 6 months, and then while I was there, I started thinking about Manu, and I had the concept 20 years earlier, but I'd never really done anything about it. And so while I was at MediaWorks, I just started ruminating this idea, pulling together the concept, and then, but where did it come from? I swam for years, and when I wasn't swimming, I loved doing bombs off wharfs and jetties, and I used to be a lifeguard at the Glenfield pools and watch kids do bombs all day long off the tower. And so I knew that it was a fun Kiwi thing, and so I just thought, we'll give this a crack. And then I went and touched base with a colleague that I'd worked with previously who was at Z Energy, and I actually took the concept along without really pitching it. I said, I just want to show you this, see what you think. And she quite liked the look of it, so I kind of dialed it up a bit more, and they came on board for a 3-year partnership, and I knew once I had Z, I was going to be able to find other sponsors because it just showed credibility, and that's become one of the biggest successes we've had. We're into our 4th year. We've got some fantastic sponsors. It's well attended. It's become a highlight on the summer calendar and the waterfront, and so yeah, really, really happy. But it's a completely different market. I mean, from ocean swimming, which is older, more European, let's call it that, to youth Māori Pacifica, absolutely. So we swing from hanging out with the bros all summer to going to Fiji and hanging out with 60-year-old retirees. Quite a change.
Hey team, Swimscape offers Auckland Triple Crown, which consists of 3 swims, the Seti Triangle, which is a beginner's 14-kilometre swim. Then there's the Rangitoto, iconic 20-kilometre swim around the Rangitoto volcano. And to round it up, there's the Tui to Waiheke swim of 24 kilometers. Sign up, book your slot.
It's interesting. So you've had your fingers in a couple of pies. Are you still a brewer?
No. Puhoi beer was another lockdown boredom project. I lived in Puhoi briefly in 2017, and kind of got to know a little bit about the area and I think back. This is one of those ideas where I see it in the supermarket now and then, and I kind of look at it and go, I'm proud I did that. But would I ever do it again? Never. It was. So I just decided I'd start a beer brand called Puhoi Beer, and got my cousin, who was a painter and an artist, to design the logo. I got an ex-master brewer to put together the recipe. I had a brewery brew the beer for me, and we had it in kegs to start with. We put it on the Puhoi pub, and then I had a few other accounts. I think at the start I had like 7 or 8 pubs that were pouring it.
Yeah.
And I would deliver those kegs in my car, like 50 kilo kegs. I think the most kegs I had in the car at one time was 11. So I had 750 kilos worth of beer, not even secured. And I used to drive around, and that was hard yakka. Again, anything started hard yakka, and then I got a business partner. I'd had a guts full, and I wanted to sell the whole thing. And then this mate from locally said, "Oh, but I want you to stay on. You hold a small majority of the shares, and a small part of the shares." And so we put it into a can. We developed it. We ended up getting Hancock's to distribute it, Hancock's Wines and Spirits, and we grew it a bit. But in the end, early 2003, I rang my business partner. I said, well, "What are we doing? Like, this isn't making money. It's just, it might not lose any money, but it wasn't making any money." And I couldn't see a light at the end of the tunnel. And a lot of those craft beers, they make up 15% of the beer market, and there's 660 breweries. It's just, you're fighting over the crumbs. It's a ridiculous proposition to get into. Only the ones like Sawmill or Garage Project are probably making a reasonable amount of money, but the rest of us were making fucking nothing. So I just said to Heath, let's sell it to Hancock's, because the owner loved the brand. And in the end, that's what we did. So made back a bit of the money I'd spent, and the coolest thing was it was in the hands of someone that would continue it. And but it was taking up 10 hours a week of my time, and I was making no money off it, and it was just a distraction in the end. And but shit, I learned a lot about beer.
Yeah. Jim still brews his own beer at home, so you guys can spot notes.
Yeah.
Well, no, I love making my own beer, and people say, "Well, you should take the next step." And I said, No. I'll just make one keg at a time, and that'll be fine.
Like you could brew enough for your mates, Jim. Like that would be fine if you had enough mates that wanted you could brew a little bit bigger. But look, I would never tell someone not to try something, because someone else can make a success to something just because I didn't, or it's how much you commit to it. Like I was doing it part time. If I'd thrown everything into it and done it 40 hours a week, like 42 below vodka, and walked around, and maybe I could have sold it for $100 million, but it didn't happen. Yeah.
Take on the ultimate challenge with a solo 20-kilometer swim around the iconic Rangitoto Island. This demanding marathon swim is supported by a dedicated safety crew, official observer, GPS tracking, and photography, with swim dates selected within the best weather windows. Suitable for both wetsuits and skins swimmers, this is one of New Zealand's toughest open water achievements, with only a handful of successful solo completions. Contact us at swimscape.co.nz to discuss your booking options. So I was going to go change of tact. Every now and again, I'll pop the swimming onto the TV, and I hear your voice in the background commentating. How do you know all of those kids' names and what they've done?
Well, the names are in front of me, so I don't need to memorize them, but I've been commentating many of them for 8 years, so I kind of get to know who's who. And how do I know what they've done? Generally because I've seen them develop and I've watched or commentated what they've done. I try and keep on top of what other competitions they have recently competed in or what their performances might have been before going into a championships, but it's quite challenging. It's a part-time role which I've got to try and carve out some time to prep for before each one. And but yeah, it's enjoyable. It's cool to stay. It's cool to be a part of those awesome moments at national championship level and Olympic trials and Commonwealth Games trials. They're the highlights, especially the one that was a couple of years ago for Paris. And watching Kane follows the backstroker finally qualify was a moment in time and a moment in commentary, which he just is real special. Also, there's a few others, but that one was amazing. Yeah.
Is swimming in a good space in New Zealand?
Pool swimming, competitive swimming.
Yeah.
Look, I think it is. Yeah. I mean, the only thing I'd say is it's a very, very competitive global sport. I mean, shit, it is. So to have Lewis Clever and Erika Fairweather in the top 5, really, is pretty amazing. And Lewis Clever is swimming faster than he's ever swum. Erika Fairweather is swimming faster than she's ever swum. So I think it's in a good position there. But as far as depth is concerned, how many others are in that top 8? There's not many. So there's a few in the top 16 perhaps. But so I guess when you compare against the Danyon Loader eras of 30 years ago, we haven't, Lauren Boyle, we've just got to keep going. But there's a good lot of talent coming through the junior ranks. Ariel Mochirahondo, a young man from Aotearoa, which is blowing away. You're watching him going over to the Australian Swim Champs and cleaning up. If a Kiwi goes over to the Australian Champs and cleans up, you know that they are on track. And so they're the ones that excite me, is these young kids that are beating the Aussies. And a young boy, Grayson Colton. I don't know if you've heard of Grayson Colton, but, 14 years old. But basically the fastest in the world at his age, there's not, I don't think there's anyone faster than him. So if he can continue his trajectory, then that could go well.
That's pretty cool. What's your view on the enhanced games that was all over the media a couple of weeks ago?
Let me think about it. I have been asked that quite a bit. I think it's a load of shit.
I was hoping you were going to say that.
I kind of think what annoys me about it is that they have this small pool and doesn't seem to be that many people there. And they've certainly, what they've done well is they've got the world's attention. So as far as if there was a sponsor or someone that was associated, but then what are people thinking about that when they see your brand associated with it? And the other thing is when a 50-meter freestyler breaks the world record, they put the world record up. They did not break the world record. All they did was swim underneath the current legitimate world record. So they did not get his world record. So that's probably what annoys me the most, is that they keep saying he's broken a world record. He has not broken the world record.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think they're the kind of organisation that they don't care whether you hate them or love them, as long as you're talking about them. And we're talking about them right now. So that's helping them. So it doesn't really matter what I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Jim, I interrupted about 10 minutes ago. Sorry, mate. Over to you.
No, that's all good. We're probably getting to the end of our time. I was just wondering, Scott, what's next? What have you got on the roadmap or the pipeline that you can tell us about?
There's a little something, but I can't really tell you much about it. But we're not far away from announcing what we're going to be doing in New Zealand. So we're really excited about it. It's about time we come back to New Zealand with something like this, and but within the next 2 weeks, you'll all know about it. And yeah, it's going to be fun. So yeah, that's all I can say for now. We're starting a little teaser campaign today at midday, so it may end up on your social media feed. But yeah, at the moment, our focus is Manu World Champs, Ocean Swim Fiji, there's heap of potential there, and just the key has always been to maintain what we currently have at the highest level. You know, not trying to juggle too many and spin too many plates. It's just creating great experiences for our sponsors, for our attendees, participants, in anything we do. So this new project will be wanting to do exactly the same thing. Yeah.
Awesome. Scott, really appreciate your time. You're a legend in the industry, and maybe one day Jim and I will be fortunate enough to come and suntan with all the old people at Fiji.
I definitely recommend it. You two would absolutely love it.
I think we'd do better there than the Manu Champs, eh?
You never know, eh? But hey, thanks for inviting me to be part of the podcast. And thanks for being part of our events over the years. Yeah, appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks, Scott.
All good.
No worries. See you guys.
Hi, my name is Caitlin O'Reilly. I'm the youngest person to have completed the Ocean 7 Challenge. If this really cool podcast has helped you learn something new, maybe it's introduced you to new swimmers, made you smile, then please take the opportunity to subscribe to Duncan and Jim's channel. I'm sure they would absolutely appreciate all your support. Cheers.
Thanks, Caitlin. As always, you can give us feedback on our Instagram account at Swimscape Adventures, or send us an email at info@swimscape.co.nz. We'll always appreciate hearing from you. Anyway, we'll speak to you sometime soon.